Hey guys, welcome back. If this is your first time to the channel, my name is Morby, and today we're gonna be going through my studio. Right now I'm filming this on my A7S III. That is a Sony DSLR, amazing full frame body camera. And I've got my Sennheiser, amazing wireless audio. But you know what? I thought it would be a lot better to do the studio tour with an iPhone. And so we're gonna switch over from my amazing camera, high quality, super expensive, to an iPhone. And the reason being is because when I got my start in creating content, it was all from my iPhone. And today, still to this day, I prefer just to use my iPhone because it's so much easier, so much more simple. All this other stuff I'm gonna show you today is complicated. All the wires, all the things, it's taken me a full year to learn all of these things and thousands of dollars of coaching from other people. I've even flown places to learn some of this stuff to come back and implement it because it's so incredibly hard the first time you learn it. So today we're gonna go into the studio tour. We're gonna talk about all the sets. We're gonna talk about all the equipment. So let's get into it. All right guys, so we won't be needing this anymore because I'm just gonna go off the audio from my iPhone. I'm gonna turn this off. And we're gonna go cruise around the studio and I'm gonna talk about the equipment that I use and the cameras that I use and why I do things the way that I do them. I am in my studio right now, which is in Mesa, Arizona. This is a house that I bought subject to. Now what's funny is I've been here about 14 months and we're getting ready to move to a much larger house. I think this house is about 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, somewhere in there. 4 bed, 2 bath, 3 car garage. It's a good house, probably worth at this point about $600,000. We are going to be moving to a much larger house with a guest home because I really want to step up my game. I want to build out a studio and I want to do that from home because we're trying to have more kids. We're trying to build our family and I don't want to be driving to and from and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys are interested in setting up your own home studio, this is going to be a great video for you. Please make sure as you're watching the video, go down below and ask me questions and I'll deep dive on individual things. But again, we're going to be going through the iPhone. It's going to be a little bit shaky. It's going to have not the greatest audio because I'll be sometimes behind the camera with, you know, pointing things out. But probably the coolest thing is I'm literally leaving my studio exactly the way it is after I just finished a podcast with Joe McCall and Matt Terrio. If you haven't heard of those guys, go check them out. We just started a podcast all about creative finance and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. So the studio is in a mess. It's an absolute mess and I want you guys to see all of that stuff, things I'm working on. And what's ironic is right when I'm about to finish the studio, we're moving to another house. Welcome to life, right? So let's get into it. All right guys, so this is my main studio right here. This is my main desk. And this is where I do most of my podcasts, most of my stuff. Every once in a while, I'll use this as a backdrop. And now in the future, I'm planning on doing this wall as a backdrop. Can you guys see the big brown? It used to be a window. We actually covered it up and we're turning it into a Rick and Morty portal. And that's gonna be one of our backdrops for the YouTube studio. So this is what I look at, okay? Now you're gonna see exactly what I see. Okay, I've got a Sony 42-inch 4K display here that all of my, when I'm working and I'm on a podcast, this is what I see. This is what I'm looking at. And a lot of my students from Subto.com, this is where I spend a lot of my time and energy. So if you take this out, what you're ultimately gonna see is I can control my computer, I can control everything from here. Today, I've got let's zoom in on this real quick. Today, I've got a probate attorney 1 of 8 with Rylus Dana, so that's gonna be happening today at 2 p.m. Got a couple hours until that happens. And this is what I'm looking at, right? This is my main camera. I'll go over that in a couple of minutes. And this is my workstation, okay? So the workstation consists of a handful of things. Let's jump into them. So number 1, my audio, everything that comes from my audio comes right here. I've got a Rode Procaster mic, okay? You can buy one of these on bhphoto.com or you can buy these on Amazon. As far as I'm concerned, this is the best microphone. Again, it's the It is the Rode Procaster. I love it. It's connected to another Rode connection arm, as you can see, and that's clamped and connected to my desk over here behind my main audio board, okay? So as you can see with this board, let's even change this up a little bit more so you guys can see it. With this board, I can have 4 mics go into it, which is amazing. This is the Rodecaster Pro. Amazing. It's about $600 to get this thing. You can see I'm on mute because I was on a podcast a little bit ago and I had to sneeze, so I quickly put it on mute. I can do so many cool things with this. I can plug in USB. I can plug in my iPhone so I can make phone calls, and my students can hear me calling sellers. This is epically like life-changing right here. Then I can do Bluetooth, where I can play Bluetooth music into my audio. Everybody on my lives and everybody on my Zooms can hear all of that. And then I can have sound effects on all of these things. And more importantly, I got my stuff here, my audio controls, and then boom, if I want to, I can record the audio only onto a separate thumb drive, all right? So that's huge. It's one of my main controls. It also helps out with the compression of this mic so that when I'm live, my wife and kids, which are on the other side of this wall, I have a wall here that's a soundproof blanket. I don't have to hear my kids. I don't have to hear my wife. And my family also knows. I told you guys this was gonna be messy. Here's my water spots from my drink. So this mic is amazing. It is the mic that I chose to go with, although, if you go back to audio for a second, I am currently right here, I just bought a Shure SM7B, and I'm gonna be testing this against that mic. And also, one of the reasons why I just bought this, and I haven't even unpackaged it, is because I'm about to do a couple podcasts with Jamil and my wife as well, and I need a second microphone, so I thought I'd try something. This is like what Joe Rogan uses, okay? So that's the audio portion of what my main setup is. This audio feeds directly into, my MacBook Pro. This is a MacBook Pro with an M1 chip, super fast, and this is also where my audio comes from. So when I'm hearing my students and I'm on a live Zoom or I'm doing a podcast, this is what gives me my audio. And what's great is because of this Rodecaster Pro and the Procaster, it compresses it so my audience doesn't hear my feedback loop from my laptop, which is awesome, okay? So going into my main controls on the desk, how do I control the screen is I've got a keyboard that controls this laptop, and I've got a mouse that also controls this laptop, and this laptop is plugged into that TV as a video out. So you guys will see, if I go behind the screen, I've got one HDMI right here that plugs into it and allows me to control that TV, and I can look directly at it. Now, I know Jerry Norton and some other people have, they have a screen in front of their camera, so they're looking directly at their camera. I don't like that because I made sure that this TV stand is actually on wheels so I can move this out of my way if I'm doing another set, etc. Okay? So here I am. All of this plugs into, so this camera plugs into my ATEM Mini Pro ISO. This thing's amazing, okay? It allows me to have multiple camera sources right into the ATEM Mini Pro. And then I can have the internet plugged into it, and I can control this thing from my computer. I can control it right here. But if I want to switch, right, to this is my main camera, my Sony Fx6. This is my iPad. This is my Sony a7S III. So this camera right here shooting this angle. So if you wanted to see this angle, boom, there it is, okay? Now, this fourth one I am about to set up is going to stream with this big ass HDMI cord over to this TV. And I'll touch on that TV here in a couple of minutes. Okay, so then I'll have all those video sources. And again, the main audio that I use is right here. And whenever I stand away from my desk, I plug in this Sennheiser MKH416P48. This is about $1,000 shotgun mic. It's unbelievable. I rarely use it because I just truly enjoy using this. I can control where my audio is going directly into the top, and I know my audience can hear everything very, very well. Now, going back to my ATEM. The ATEM, I can do picture-in-picture, as you guys can see right here. So my students are always asking me, how am I doing that? Boom, it's right here. ATEM Mini Pro ISO. I think this is about $800 right now. And then I just barely got this monitor. Oh, check that out. That's sexy. That's super sexy. So I just got this monitor. It's going to sit right here. And the reason it's going to sit right here is because this will show me all of my camera angles and make sure that they're all live. Because sometimes what will happen is I'll switch from this camera angle, head on, over to this camera angle, right, like this, and it'll shoot here. The problem is I forget to turn my camera on sometimes, and this monitor will make sure that everything shows me a live feed of my cameras right there. Super simple, make it easy, okay? Now, this iPad, I cannot tell you how much I use this. It is crazy how much I use this because I can now tell my students I can draw things on Notability. I can go to my email, I can pull that all up, and my students see all of that stuff, right? So if they want to see, if my students want to see a document and I go through it, I now can take this iPad and they can see everything. So I can go, hey guys, you see I signed right here with the seller and da-da-da-da-da-da. Huge, because this goes into my A10 Mini right here, and camera angle number 2 is what pops up my iPad, okay? Now, as you guys can see on my desk, let's get over to here. You guys can see this is just a cool little thing that I have. Nobody knows that I do this, but I'll twirl these balls around. I'm a big fan of Scotty Cameron, a golf company, and I've got these cool little logoed balls, Scotty Cameron. And also, I just got some Subto Titleist balls made. But right here, this Stream Deck is huge, and I haven't quite started using it yet, but it's going to be controlling a lot of things on my desk. Guys, you can look up a Stream Deck and what's possible. They can change lights, they can turn things on and off, they can play video loops, they can do all sorts of cool things. So you'll be seeing a lot more of this in the future as I unfold. I actually had to hire somebody for $50 an hour to sit down with me and kind of show me how to do this. I truly believe in coaching and just cutting the learning curve in half, right? Now, again, just going back over to my main unit, this is my MacBook Pro, 13-inch. I made sure it was small. This came out in like December, and I decided to just buy the nicest one I could because streaming means a lot to my audience and means a lot to my students as well. So I just made sure that I spent the money, and this goes into a little plug underneath the desk that connects everything together, okay? I'm pretty neurotic about wires, although right now you can see the wires from this TV because I haven't even plugged it in yet. It's brand new, but my desk is super clean. You don't see a lot of wires at all. It's very, very clean. Even on the back side, right? This is my extra cord. I make sure everything's always tied up, very organized. Even here, this is tied up. So as you can see, I don't just have wires laying all over because I have a wire collection tray underneath here. So you don't see wires just hanging and dangling and all that kind of stuff. Even with all this technology, you don't see any of that stuff. Now, I'm gonna go through real quick. I know this is getting long, but hopefully people are getting value from this. And I'm gonna go through and tell you what this all kind of costs, okay? This is about $500–600. This is another $500–600 for that setup. You've got a GoPro here that I use sometimes as an extra camera angle. That's about $700 there. I have an Aperture 120D2 light and the Mini 2 light dome with an Aperture. I think this is no, this is not an Aperture. This is a Manfrotto. This is a Manfrotto arm. I got this on BH Photo, and then a clamp. So this clamp attaches to my desk, goes all the way up. This whole setup right here is about $1,500 for this one light, okay? And I have 2 of them. I have 2 of them because obviously we need a ton of light when we're trying to have good quality stuff. And boom, check this out, my Aperture Remote. So I can turn one light on, one light off, all with one remote, and I can dim them, make them look nice and dim if I choose to do so. Okay, so that's really, really nice, just be able to have full control. Man, I wish somebody taught me this stuff when I first started. This is crazy. And this is how important it is for me to take my brand seriously and how important it is for me to take my education with my students seriously as well, okay? So now, a couple of other little things that you'll notice here on my desk is I have a Hypervolt that I bust out. It's very stressful to be live for 3, 4, sometimes 6 hours at a time, and so it's nice to be able to just hammer out some knots if I need to. I sit in the same position all the time, and so Hypervolt is super helpful. Again, so this light, this 120D Mark II, this thing's about $1,500 for that setup. And then boom, this is another Manfrotto arm with another Manfrotto clamp on my desk. And as you guys can see, the desk is an uplift desk. I think this desk was about $2,000, okay? Now this goes to a Sony a7S III with my lens. As you guys can see right here, my lens is a 12 to 24 millimeter G Master lens. For anybody that understands photography and lenses, G Master is the nicest lens you can get for a Sony, and I don't believe in cheaping out on things just because you buy it once, you never have to worry about it ever again, okay? I always have this open. You guys can see, let's turn this on real quick. And you'll be able to see myself recording myself right here. I always have this open so I can look over and just see if the thing's on or everything's in focus, right? It's kind of cool. And then when I'm using this out in the field, the main audio that I'm using is this Sennheiser wireless set. And I don't know the brand, the make and model of it, but just type in, if you guys are looking for this, there's no better Sennheiser, there's no better wireless mic than this Sennheiser set. So just go to Amazon and type in Sennheiser mic. Now, where do I sit? What's the chair that I sit in? This is about a $1,200 setup, this one chair. It's very expensive, I understand. But this is the same chair that Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro and some other people use. It's an unbelievable deal. It's an HAG is the brand, as you guys can see right there. So just type in HAG chair or Joe Rogan chair. And then with my uplift desk, I've got this cool little handy dandy thing. It has pens. I have my remote control. So if I'm doing a different show, I can change up. If I'm doing Wholesale Hotline or whatever, I can change all the colors to match whatever the show I'm doing is, right? So if I'm doing the Get Creative podcast, I'll go green. If I'm doing Wholesale Hotline, I'll go pink. If I'm doing Sunday Service, I'll go red. So it just kind of depends on what I'm doing that I'll switch that up. And then I've got, whiteboard markers in here because a lot of people don't know this, but this is the raw deal. This is the raw deal, guys. I can make this desk go up and down. This desk is actually a whiteboard, okay? I have not actually used it this way, but this desk is a whiteboard, and I've left the film on it because I was about to set up a camera that would come and shoot downward so I could do whiteboard videos on the top of my desk. But then I learned about the A10 Mini, and I learned about my iPad that I can do all these cool things. And I went this route instead because it's a lot easier to clean up. I don't actually have to clean up. I can erase with this thing super easily, right? So anyway, the setup for these cameras, this is the A7S III, A7S II, A7S2. I bought this used for $2,000. I bought this used for $2,000. I bought this brand new for, I think, about $4,000. And I bought this A7S II brand new for $4,000. And I bought all of my lenses. I probably have spent $20,000 on lenses, to be honest. So just right here between these two cameras and these two cameras is $12,000. This lens is a $3,500 lens. So, I mean, you're at $15,000 just for these pieces of camera. I know it's very expensive, but this obviously is how we buy real estate deals, is branding ourselves. I have a whole thing full of lenses. I've got just about every G Master lens. If you guys are curious about what lenses I use, they're all G Masters. This is an 85 millimeter. This is 16 to 35. And then my main lens that I use on my main camera is there's my 16 to 35. So I've got a 16 to 35 G Master lens on this. And that other one would be my 24 to 70 in my bag, okay? Now, this is the Sony Fx6, as you guys can see right here. Cinema camera, high quality. It's crazy high quality. And this is the main thing that I stream everything with. Wholesale Hotline, Sunday Service. A lot of my YouTube videos will be filmed on this as well, but it primarily just stays right here. And the reason why I switched to an FX6 and why I use this is because I really wanted a camera that I could use all of my Sony glass on, right? I have all this $20,000 of Sony glass. And I wanted to make sure that I could have a camera that's plugged in. And you can probably see it's turned on right now, I bet. Yeah, it is turned on. That's what I loved about this camera, is that I could keep this camera turned on all day long and it never had an issue, okay? So the HDMI cord goes up and under my desk and it goes into my A10 Mini Pro. It is camera number 1, okay? This camera can be plugged in all the time. Now the challenge with that, and why is that so important to me, is because These cameras cannot be plugged in all the time unless you get permanent battery support that you plug into the bottom, which I have. You guys can see I'm very organized with my wires, so they're not all over the place. The problem with these batteries is they can burn the cameras. And why are all my cameras out right now? This is truly how I left it. I did not stage this. Is how I left it. Why are these cameras all here? Is because I just got these back from the shop. I burned this one. I burned this one. I burned this one. Sony warrantied my motherboard. My motherboard got burned. This one motherboard got burned, and this one got burned. Sony did not cover these because these are older cameras, but this one's still under warranty. They got burned because I'm using a permanent battery supply, and it burns the motherboard the longer you leave it on. So as long as I'm recording less than 30, 40 minutes, I can plug this, pop this in and out, super simple, okay? So there's the main setup. This is the main setup. I can move my desk up and down. It's all on wheels, so I can move in position and record there. I can move in position and record on this side. It gives me multiple backdrops for the same exact desk, okay? Now, here is one of my favorite things. A lot of people are asking about this. This painting is unbelievable. It was painted, as you guys can see. The quality on this thing, look at the layers of paint on this. This is not just some print. This is hand painted, hand splattered by JV Art. Amazing. I mean, look at the detail on this guy's eye. Look at the detail of how he'd paint stuff and then he'd wash it out with water and it'd come down. I mean, this painting is unbelievable. It's my favorite thing in the studio. And I think this thing, I don't even want to tell you how much it costs. I'm a little bit embarrassed, but it's $8,000. I had this commissioned. And if you guys want to hear more about that, let me know down in the comments. Now, how do I light this up? How do I change this out? Is I have these Nan Light Pavo tubes. I turn these bad boys on. They're ultra bright. And I can now switch the color of the painting. Look at that. See how the paint picks up different colors and it just changes dramatically. All the little things pop in and out. And the Nan Light Pavo tubes, I actually have 4 of them, 2 on the sides, 1, 2, and then I have 2 down below mounted to the wall. And then I've got this awesome Aperture light storm, okay? And this backdrop throws up the light, gives us some good depth and some contrast. And then I've got a green screen up here, and I've got a white roll of paper that I can change my backdrops as many times as I want. I mean, this is super condensed. And then again, guys, I sit in the same position a lot of times, and I talk to people, I talk to sellers, and there's stressful situations sometimes I'm dealing with. And so I've got this back roller that will work out a knot in my right shoulder that I constantly have. This is one of my backdrops right here. As you guys know, this is the Subto logo. I got this from a company called Yellow Pop, and it was about $1,100, something like that. And then I put up sound killing whiteboards. I don't like the black stuff that everybody else uses. And then all that stuff is plugged down here. Now, this is a little bit of a mess because I've got my Sony charger, I've got my charger for my Sennheiser stuff, and then I throw my backpack here because I want to make sure that everything's really accessible to me as easily as possible. Now, while I'm down here on the rug, this is actually a rug from Anthropologie. I think this was about a $1,200 rug. I usually have 2 of them, one here and one there on my office side. But as you can see, we're under construction here, and I had to pull one of the rugs out, okay? So hopefully that covers everything on this side. Give you guys a full view. When I walk in, this is what I see. I walk around here, I sit down, and I can control this whole entire workspace with my left hand and my right hand with 2 keyboards, 2 mouses. Now, I bought this from Target. I walked into Target, I was like, dude, I'm sick of my feet dangling and only being able to put my feet here. So this is a little beanbag thing that I bought. It was like 40 bucks, Target, and now I've got this cool thing to put my feet, and it allows me to be comfortable for long periods of time. Now, I also use, this Sony is probably one of my favorite lenses. It's the 24 millimeter. It's amazing. And then this usually goes on top of my Sony A7 or my FX6, but obviously that would impede my view. And so I take this off once I get my focal, once I focus and once I set everything up to be perfect, I then take it off and I'm good to go. Really simple TV, nothing special. I bought this stand on Amazon for about 40 bucks, and it allows me to push this TV up against that wall, and then it opens up the studio quite a bit. So right here, check it out. I've got one of my favorite artists, the same artist that painted my Outcast painting and the same one that painted my Kanye West painting is painting this. So you've got Rick, you've got Morty, you've got Pickle Rick right here, and we're gonna be painting a Rick and a portal right here, which is gonna be cool. So I also, because I'm such a Black Ops fan, they had a zombie game inside of Black Ops, and I loved the ray gun. So I had, instead of him shooting a regular gun from the show Rick and Morty, I had Jay throw the ray gun from that in there. And then these are characters that Jay has created that essentially are coming in to attack Rick and Morty. And then we're gonna have a portal that they're trying to escape, and there's a dragon that's gonna come around. So this is gonna be cool. I'd say we're about halfway done with this painting. And this painting is now gonna be the new backdrop to this new TV. This is called a Vibe TV. So I can come in here, touch the start, and then boom, I can just jump right in here and start talking to my students and saying, all right guys, so here's a deal. Probably one of the coolest things is I can come in here and I can change anything I want. I can do Canva, I can go to Chrome, I can go to YouTube, I can go to Slack. I can do so many things on this TV, it's ridiculous, okay? I can zoom, I can do everything. But if you just go back home, I also can do stuff like, I can pull out a document out of my Dropbox. This is sexy, okay? I can go in here, I have a lot of proof of stuff that we do, just because there's so many fake ass people online. So not a lot of people know exactly who's real and who's not. So I'll pull up a settlement statement, and I can actually now go through the settlement statement on my TV and show people exactly what a settlement statement looks like. It's obviously loading, we'll come back to it. And this thing's on wheels. I've got 2 magnetic pencils, the thing's on wheels, and I can go through there and I can film, I can broadcast this, I can do 100 different things with this TV. And this TV is going to end up being pushed back to this wall so that this is the main backdrop, okay? Now, studio's not huge, okay? It's about 15 feet wide by 25 feet long, so it's a pretty decent sized room. And the challenge here is that everything's tile, right? So you got this sound that just reverberates and causes issues. So that's why I have a soundproof blanket here over the door so my daughter's voice doesn't come through. And then I've got a soundproof wall there. But the good thing is the microphones that I use, like this, again, going back to the Rodecaster Pro and the Rode Procaster mic, is that it condenses that and it makes it so you can't hear any of that stuff on the outside, all right? So coming back to my desk, you guys can see it's a little bit of a mess because I come here in the morning, I've got to listen to and watch my YouTube videos and watch other people's stuff and research in the morning, so I have to have this. Got a nice leather mat, so I keep my desk nice and clean. And then my wife bought me these ugly wrappers from, what do you call it, Etsy. She bought these from Etsy, and they were like $12 a piece. So really love these. You've got Kanye West, my favorite, Childish Gambino, Kid Cudi, Andre 3000, Tupac, and Kendrick Lamar, my 6th favorite. And everybody else's favorite as well. So screens that I got. Let's wake this thing up. Again, I've got another MacBook Pro that controls both screens. And these TVs, not these TVs, but these screens, you can see, look how cool it is, how big that text messaging is and how great it is. This is an Apple Pro display, the Display XDR. And I think the setup on each one of these screens is about $6,000, maybe $7,000. So these 2 screens are 15 grand plus my laptop, probably another $2,000-3,000 bucks. So just right there, that's 20 grand. It's crazy how expensive this really gets. I mean, you're probably, I don't know, somewhere around $80,000-$90,000 of equipment in here. So I also use this. So this is the newer, whoever is saying it always changes, SL200. This is a really inexpensive version of this light right here. This is a $1,000 light, okay? That is a $300 light. All right, so, I mean, that's a better way to go. The challenge with this is that it's really loud. And I think the biggest advantage of having these Aperture lights right here that are really expensive is that they're quiet and you don't have to hear them on camera, which is pretty important. So anyway, that's primarily the main bulk of the studio. All right, so I did this whole thing on my iPhone. The audio is perfectly fine. The video is great, I'm sure. It's not horrible. I could obviously turn lights on. I could get the light and that kind of stuff set up. But the most important thing to realize is that I've been able to get here because and spending all this money on a studio, which now the studio is going to be 3 times the size, and I'm going to spend even more money kind of growing it out, is because I've been getting deals, real estate deals, by building a brand, right? I can buy a deal a day if I really wanted to, just because I have a brand that people recognize. And the brand is Creative Finance, obviously, Subto, obviously that's my main logo. But more than anything, my brand really is just helping people. That's really my brand. My brand is all about helping people get into a situation where they can do real estate and we do deals together. So that's why building a brand is so important to me. And that's why when I buy really expensive cameras and I buy really expensive lenses and I buy really expensive hardware, I make sure that I buy the best. And the reason being is because this is my business. It's not about influencing. I'm not trying to influence anybody. I'm trying to buy deals. I want to buy real estate as a real estate investor. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So here's my advice to you guys as we wrap this up. 1, let me know if this gave you any value, gave you any understanding of what my little studio looks like at home. Also, I have another version of my studio inside my garage, but now that it's getting hot, I'm not really going in there that much. So if you guys want to see that, it's like a big whiteboard and other lighting and another camera and all sorts of stuff in there. But the biggest piece of advice I would give you is take your brand seriously, right? If you want to buy deals and you want to get into real estate, make sure people know who the hell you are, right? You need people to know who you are. And that's why I've built a brand. So if this gave you any value, please like, please subscribe, please let other people know about my brand so that I can buy more real estate deals. We do deals all over the country. So send me a DM on Instagram, send me something on Facebook, whatever. What I want you guys to understand is that you can do all of this with an iPhone. And that's why I did the whole studio tour with an iPhone. It's way easier. I don't have to edit. It's not hard to upload. It's way, way easier just to do everything with an iPhone. In fact, I would have been way better off by just buying 10 different iPhones and having them set up on hardwire power and streaming into a Stream Deck. But I didn't go that route. And I don't want to deter you guys from actually just record. Get on a podcast, start your own podcast and be consistent. Everything that I do is all about consistency. And I don't even have to be that great. I just have to be consistent. So anyway, if you got value, please give me a comment. If you have a question about any of the hardware, please give me a comment down below and I will answer those. We'll see you on the next video.